Hey guys, this is Warren from the Paladin Journal, and welcome back to my movie review videos. It's been a long time since I've done the last one. It's been over a year, and I believe the last one I did was for Superman last year, so it's definitely been an age. But as you can see, I'm getting right down to the business here, and I'm talking about what is for me one of the biggest movies of the year, which is Masters of the Universe, directed by Travis Knight, and it is an absolutely phenomenal movie. Now, if you take a look at the background right here, what I've set up, it's the Origins Castle Grayskull playset that launched in 2020, 2021, and a lot of the figures here are from across the many ranges that have come out in like the last 6-7 years. And I'll just give you guys a quick tour of that before we get to the main meat of the video. So as you can see here, I have the Barbie dolls for He-Man and Teela that just came out with the movie. I have the movie Man-at-Arms right there, the movie He-Man, the movie Skeletor is right here as well. And let's see what else we got. We got the movie Teela right there, up in the throne room. And opposite her is Goatman, which was part of the 4-pack for the core toy line for the movie. And you can see that this is Evelyn from the Netflix show. These are the Origins, He-Man and Skeletor with the Battlecat and Panther. This is the collab that here. This is the collab that was done internally at Mattel between the He-Man toy line and the Thundercats toy line. So Battlecat Man and Panther Man. And then we got the 40th anniversary She-Ra. This I believe is New Eternia Fisto. That's the 40th, or that's the vintage Stratos. We got I don't know, I'm not sure which show that one is from, the Moss Man, but he's there. This guy's definitely Savage Eternia, if I'm not mistaken. That is also Savage Eternia, Merman, and that Sorceress, she came with the Castle Grayskull set. So as you can see, there's a ton of stuff here, and this is pretty much my entire collection. I think I'm forgetting just the one figure that I have. It's the Flying Fists He-Man, which I did an unboxing video of recently. It's one of my most recent picks from June. And, this is pretty much my entire collection. And this is basically what I love about He-Man, okay? Now, just to give us a bit of an intro on the whole thing, I know we're going to get to the review, guys. Just let me talk this stuff out. It's been a while since I've been able to do this in a movie review, and I've just been like waiting for all these words to get out. So excuse me. This is a franchise I've loved for over 30 years. All right, I've seen the original cartoons. I've read some of the comic strips. I've read some of the comics that came out additionally. I've consumed so much He-Man media, whether it's the 80s cartoon or the 90s reboot or the 2000s early reboot or the Netflix shows, whether it's He-Man or She-Ra, everything. The Secret of the Sword is one of my favorite movies of all time. And this is everything I love about all the eras of He-Man, all right? Yes, I don't have too many of the toys, but that's just because, I am getting into toy collecting at a stage where a lot of them are really expensive to get now because of so many different costs. If I had gotten like, say, 7 years earlier proper, pre-COVID, man, I can't imagine how big my collection would be. Easily twice this, if not more. But anyways, we're going to talk about the movie, right? And representing the movie, we got 5 figures. We got He-Man, Skeletor, Teela, Goatman, Man-at-Arms. We got the Teela Barbie doll. We got the He-Man Barbie doll. So let's talk about the movie, right? The casting. The casting I was really unsure of. Camila Mendes I'd seen in Riverdale. I thought she was okay. I didn't have too many strong feelings for or against her. I thought she was going to be a neat addition. She seemed a little short to be playing Teela, but that was like, that's not a big deal for me. It's not a deal breaker. Nicholas Galitzine. There used to be Noah Centineo was initially tapped for the role of He-Man and Prince Adam, but he backed out for whatever reason, probably because the project was in developmental hell. And it just lingered on for a while. Then we ended up with Nicholas Galitzine. This movie is the first thing I've watched of his, and I am super impressed. The guy can act. He has really good comedic timing, He had good chemistry with all his co-actors, whether it's Jared Leto's Skeletor, it's Camila Mendes' Tila, Idris Elba's Man-at-Arms, or any of the other characters in the movie, right? And it was just a blast. Camila Mendes really surprised me. She had a really earnest portrayal of the character, and I think she carried off the no-nonsense attitude that she generally has had, that I'm feeling with at least. She carried that really well. So I love that start to finish. Idris Elba, what a performance. There were some areas where I was like, yeah, they were playing up the comedic angle a little bit too much with him. Whereas, I felt it could have been a little bit more, a bit more by the numbers, less comedic, but it worked anyways. And I think the standout has to be Jared Leto. Now, off the bat, I'm going to say I despise Jared Leto as an actor. He's one of those method actors who, for him, it's all about being an asshole on set. There are horror stories about him from the set of Suicide Squad, which came out 7-8 years ago, and how he treated some of his co-stars on the movie, and he was trying to be the actual Crown Prince of Gotham, and he was just an asshole, right? So there's that. And he hasn't really had a good performance in the last decade at all. Most of his movies have flopped, pretty much all of them, and he was like a big red flag coming in, and I almost didn't watch the movie. Even though for me this is like the number one all-time franchise, I almost didn't see the movie. But when the press started for the movie and the cast and crew were doing the premieres all over the world, it just clicked. I was like, I have to go see this. I cannot miss this. I cannot call myself a He-Man fan if I don't go support this movie. Sure, we had that movie 40 years ago, 1987. It was when I was born. That's the year I was born. So it's kind of a special year, And I'm ambivalent on that movie, but this one, it is straight up in the feels. It hits you from every era of He-Man, whether it's the Filmation cartoon, it's the 1987 movie, it's the 90s He-Man even, it's the 2000s, with some of the backstory they have going and how they treat some of the characters, the seriousness at times, and it draws from the Netflix shows, and it draws from everything. It draws from the toys. There are characters in the movie. They're either small bit parts or it's cameos, and it's they're characters from comic strips from the 80s. People don't remember those characters. There's concepts of characters that didn't make it into toy lines in the 80s and 90s, and they got a shout out in this movie. With its concept art for He-Man, even that showed up in the movie. It's amazing. There are gags and Easter eggs all over the movie. Everything fits really nicely, and it's the cast and crew. Travis Knight as the director, and all the writers involved, all the producers involved, everybody, stuntmen, everyone did a sweet job on this movie. All right, and I have to give a huge shout out to Daniel Pemberton, who was the composer for the movie. I have to give a shout out to Sir Brian May, who did a lot of the guitar stuff on the movie for the songs. And there are so many things that are just hit upon hit upon hit in the movie. And the cherry on the cake, the cherry on top, is the music. I've been listening to so many of the tracks non-stop for the last month and a half, and I'm telling you, I am absolutely obsessed. I was not this obsessed as a child, even though I had so many of the toys and stuff and whatnot, but it's I'm especially obsessed. And the biggest thing for me personally is that I got to share all of this with my kids. I got to share it with my wife. We all went to see the movie on release weekend. Unfortunately, we were traveling at the time, and the theater we went to in Dubai, it was an off timing on the Saturday, and the theater was unfortunately not anywhere close to full. I think apart from the four of us, there were maybe 3-4 people in the entire hall, which kind of sucked. But man, I was crying, I was hollering, I had my fist in the air when Prince Adam does his transformation to He-Man. Just the whole setup leading up to that, you get the goofiness of all the characters, the seriousness that balances all of it, and just story and everything. There's like probably like 50 different points in the movie where I cried, and just when the movie ends, and it's like they end the movie, like the actual movie itself, not the post-credit scenes, which we'll come back to later. They end the movie on an adaptation of the theme from the 1980s cartoon, which is like it goes straight into the feels, and I cannot express how much of a heartfelt moment that was for me as a He-Man fan for most of my life that I can recall. I say 30 years, it could have been more, and I think this movie was fantastic. Now, unfortunately, the movie did not perform well at the box office. I blame that on so many different factors, none of them having to do with how the cast and crew did their jobs at all. It was all down to the, and we have to really talk about this. It was all down to the online hate mongering that was going on around the actors, especially Nicholas Galitzine. People were like, oh, he doesn't have the muscles or anything, this is not He-Man, and it's supposed to be this right-wing kind of power fantasy or whatever, which is like, dude, do you not like understand what you're watching? Media literacy is like so dead. Like, I get that, you watched it 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and you maybe don't remember, you think about it differently these days, but He-Man was never a power fantasy. And you go watch the documentaries that are on the movie or on the toy lines from back in the day. There's the Power of Grayskull documentary that came out like 7-8 years ago. There's the Netflix show called The Toys That Made Us. It has a whole episode on He-Man. He-Man was such a power force back then that it was doing gangbuster record sales in retail. I think the first year was like 10 million in sales or something ridiculous like that. And this is just like North America, right? Me, I am in India. I was in India at that time. And I can tell you this was huge. I could go to my local toy store, which was like, 10 steps away from my house. I could go pick up He-Man. I could go pick up Skeletor. I could go pick up Wind Raider, the Land Shark. There was so much stuff available in all over India. It was a crazy time. And people, they were like, oh, this movie is not what it should be about. He sucks, she sucks, he sucks, he sucks, whatever. All different kinds of BS, right? And unfortunately, that worked to a great degree. I have friends who have said that they did not go to the movie because they saw so many negative comments about it online. And I'm like, dude, you could have talked to me. I did my level best, short of sending people annoying DMs on social media. I did what I could. I, hyped up all the trailers. I hyped up I took photos in the theater with the posters and everything, with the displays and whatnot. And I talked about it so much on social media, especially after I watched the movie. I've been talking about this movie nonstop. The reason I got this Barbie doll and this Barbie doll and these 5 movie toys is because of the movie, because how good the movie was. I was gonna collect the toys, but it's like I wasn't particularly motivated that much to get them. I was like, okay, I'll get something. I was like, I want the entire toy line now, right? And the ones I have, they're the more affordable option. It's the core toy line. But I mean, like you can see, the Barbie dolls are expensive, bro. I mean, I was lucky I got them in India here for like really cheap compared to the US prices even, which never happens. But anyways, so as we said, the cast and crew did a fantastic job. The story is really great. It balances a lot of different things. They ease you in. They have the familiarizing scenes where Adam is actually on Earth for a lot of time, but that's only in the background story. In the actual runtime, he's on Earth for maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops, and that's really not that much. And then he comes back to Eternia there's the whole storyline goes off. You know, he finds out what has happened to Eternia, while he was gone, how Skeletor has ruined everything. Most of the people are, you know, living as slaves to Skeletor and his minions. And Eternos, the city that he grew up in, it has been destroyed so much. And the sorceress is off somewhere. The power of Grayskull is diffused, and he has to bring it back. This guy, all right. And you know, we could not have had a better time in the movie. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Nicholas Galitzine was superb. Camila Mendes was superb. Idris Elba, superb. Jared Leto, I say this very grudgingly, but he was superb. It was a good thing that we don't get to see his actual face in the movie at all. We don't get to hear his actual voice. So that ameliorated that quite a bit. But I think he still did a performance. Like, I say this grudgingly, but I do give props to him for doing a really good Skeletor that really evokes the Alan Oppenheimer version from the original cartoon in the 80s filmation. But yeah, so that's really great. And he also has, you know, there's like in the story and his performance, there's also shades of Mark Hamill from the Netflix show and everything. So that was really good stuff. If there's anything in the story that I thought was kind of a bummer, was that a couple key characters died, and I am not a fan of that. The whole part of the original He-Man and even, you know, a lot of the adaptations thereafter was that these characters, no one really dies. Part of that was because of, you know, the toy codes, the industrial toy codes or whatever it was called back then, because, you know, the cartoons were to promote the toys, and the standards for showing children's programming in the 80s and 90s, I was like, oh, you can't actually show in a cartoon someone actually dying, which is why, you know, if you watch G.I. Joe from the 80s, the cartoon, you see the movie, it's why no one ever really dies in that. And whenever, you know, like a ship blows up or anything, or a tank blows up, you see the pilot or the gunner or the driver or whatever, or any of the Joes or the Cobra soldiers, they dive out or they jump out or whatever, you know. There's always that. There's always parachutes and everything. Same goes for He-Man. No one ever really dies here. And even if, you know, there's a story where someone dies, it's like there's some kind of like a deeper mystery there, or that you have to unpack by the end of the episode. So I wasn't a fan of that, especially one death in particular that happens that is very crucial to He-Man's journey in the movie. I'm not going to spoil what it is, and the second one is something called copied over from one of the Netflix shows. And I was like, come on, man, that's like, and it was a very similar kind of death too. So like, it's just like, I kind of wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it, but I was like, oh, come on, man, don't pick on this particular character. And then another thing was that when He-Man comes back, or when Adam comes back to Eternia, he has grown up idolizing all of these characters, whether it's Fisto, there's Teela, there's Man-at-Arms, there's Ram Man, there's Mechanic, and all these other characters. He's grown up idolizing them. He was cut off from all of Eternia on Earth throughout his growth years as a young adult, as a teenager, as an adolescent, and he built up stories. He's actually the one, you know, in the movie canon who gives them all of these names: Fisto, Ram Man, Mechanic, Warrior Goddess. He gives them all of these names. Whereas actually, no, I believe Fisto's actually, his first name is Malcolm, I believe. Teela is of course Teela. Man-at-Arms is Duncan, and so on and so forth. I did see a couple days ago these file cards that were put out on social media, which are like, oh, so these are the actual names for all the characters. I'm like, this should have been in the movie, right? And so anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, so he's given them all these names. So when he comes back, he's meeting all these people. You know, he meets Fisto, he meets Ram Man. He's like, he says those names. He says Fisto. He says, you're Fisto, you're Ram Man, Mechanic. And it's like, they're all like, the hell is he talking about? You know? And that's weird for them, because they, you know, presumably just call each other by their actual names. And he has all these weird names, and they don't like those names because Ram Man doesn't really like the name Ram Man. Fisto doesn't like the name because, you know, fist, you know, it's the imagery of it, I guess. So those were like, you know, a bit like cheap shots, you could say. It's low-hanging fruit. I wish that movie had aimed higher than that. And the thing about the names are actually in the movie. Like with Duncan, Adam calls him Duncan so many times. He calls her Tila so many times. So that's that. And then it's like, those are the really two things I feel that took away my enjoyment of the movie a little bit. But anyways, cinematography, just the visual language of the movie, abso-freaking-lutely fantastic. Man, I cannot stop raving about it. The movie is so colorful. For the last 20 years, we've had so many movies, big budget, small budget, which are like, they're just like, the color has just like drained away from movies. You look at the Zack Snyder DC movies, you look at some of the Marvel fare that's come out, so many other movies, there's no color there. The directors, the producers, they're all scared of it for some reason. Whereas, if you actually embrace it, like you look at Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, you look at Transformers 1, you look at Masters of the Universe, you look at Pacific Rim, those movies knew what to do with color. Like, that was a language in itself, It was teaching you stuff, it was telling you things. Like, I don't have a Prince Adam figure, but, Prince Adam, he always wore this, like in the original cartoons, he wears a pink jacket on top of a white undershirt, right? And he has his outside underwear, you could call it, I guess. It's it's purple. It's not purple. It's like a light purple, He-Man, you look at He-Man right here, the visual language, it tells you things, it tells you what to look for, and it tells you, so many different things that you can actually build on. You don't have to treat it as something that's there to annoy you. It's not. It's there to tell a story in itself, and you have to embrace that. I'll bring the camera closer so it's more apparent what I'm going to talk about. Okay? So, He-Man and Prince Adam, their disguises, it's like Superman and Clark Kent. People are like, how can you, false victim to that identity? It's not a super identity. Whereas, if you look at the real world, it's like, okay, I'm not expecting Clark Kent to actually be Superman. And in this world, we don't have this constant surveillance state where everyone is getting photographed or videographed all the time. And, He-Man, he changes his hair color, he changes his skin color, he changes the way he dresses and everything. His hair is different and everything, So it's like, okay, so those things actually do make a huge effect. They have a huge consequence on all of that. So you have to embrace that. Like Eternia, back in the 1987 movie, the sorceress was all white, which is, I believe, where the inspiration for that sorceress comes from. She was all white, maybe a little bit of silver here and there, but she was all white. She was pretty much like that, except she had a gown instead of the swimsuit. And it's like in this movie, Morena Baccarin as the sorceress, so amazing. I wish she had a lot more dialogue, like at least 4 or 5 more scenes with different characters throughout the movie. But you actually see her, her costume is reminiscent of the Filmation sorceress costume, which is it has blues and oranges all over. It's really colorful. Same goes for Tila, same goes for Adam, and so many different things. Mechanic, his colors are bright red and a little bit of muted blue. Really great contrast. All that stuff, Beastman, you can see his face so clearly. It's got the classic look to him. Skeletor, classic look. So much is really good in that movie. Castle Grayskull, so much color. With the design of Castle Grayskull actually goes, I think, to a set that was launched a while back. I think 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. But it has color itself. The movie has so much color. You can tell the scenes apart. It's well lighted. It's a huge thing in Hollywood movies, in blockbusters these days. This bucks the trend. Maybe that's why people don't like it. You go to watch The Odyssey, there's no color in it. Like it's all like this one palette, and it's all set in during storms and everything, dark scenes. Yeah, sure, they're somewhat well lighted, but not like that well lighted as what they should be. And it's like that's one of the strengths of this movie, you know. And of course, I've already talked about the score so much. Like there's synthwave music, synthwave rock in it. There's orchestral symphonies. There's guitar riffs all over. Thank you, Sir Brian May. And just like I have listened to the music so much that if I listen to some of the major tracks, like Job for He-Man, Power of Grayskull, Return to Eternia, like I'm listening and in my mind, the scenes from the movies are coming out, in my brain. And especially with Power of Grayskull, I've listened to that so many times. Like I go, I have to do some work trips every week, like twice a week, and I am just listening to the movie soundtrack so much. I can pinpoint the exact scene as it happens in the movie, right? It's in the brain, and it's like this movie was a love letter. Whether it's the actors' performances, it's the music, it's the story. It's all about nostalgia and delivered in the best possible way. And I could not have asked for a better movie. Sure, I have some minor quibbles with it, but I have to tell you, this movie was freaking fantastic. If you missed out on watching this movie, please, 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 do not miss out on watching it on Amazon Prime. It's on streaming right now as of like 3 days ago. I've already seen it once with my kids, and we loved it even more the second time. Especially now that we have all this with the movie figures, the dolls, and listening to the music all the time for the last month and a half. That's all just added to the enjoyment that we had for the movie. I'm gonna be watching it so many more times over the coming days. Like I'm so obsessed with this movie. I'm gonna try and get some more of the toys. I really want to complete the core toyline checklist. I want to start getting the Chronicles toys as well, which they are releasing some new versions next year, which is amazing to me. And it's like there's so much stuff about this movie, right? Like I could go on and on and on and on about it, but it wouldn't be enough, really. Like this movie is what I wanted it to be, even better, and I sincerely hope that it gets a sequel. There are 3 post-credit scenes in the movie. One, it's not really a big deal at all. One is with Orko, who we don't see in the movie, but he is in the post-credit scene, and it's a typical Filmation end of episode scene where it's like, oh, okay, so there's going to be something educational about this like 20-second segment or whatever. That's what that scene is. Orko was like the perfect vehicle for that. And there's a couple Easter eggs in that scene, and then there are 2 more scenes. I'm not going to spoil those because I don't think it's worth spoiling that. But it's like, it's the perfect hook for a sequel to the movie, 2 sequels even, and I think they're well set up to move forward from that. And it's like Travis Snyder said that for that particular character that shows up in one of those post-credit scenes, he has the exact actor in mind to portray that character. And man, I just hope that Amazon greenlights this. The movie has already become number 1 on streaming within a day. All right, all the people who missed out on the movie in theaters, and it had a short run. I have to say that, especially here in India, it had a really, really short run. People who missed out on in theaters, they're watching it on streaming right now, and I'm not gonna shut up about it. Like just today, like I saw like maybe 50 reels on Instagram about it. I shared like 20 of those onto my timeline. I'm obsessed with this movie. I'm obsessed with these characters. Like I said, it's being forever my number 1 franchise. Nothing else tops that. Not G.I. Joe, not Star Wars, not Warhammer, not anything. This is the top one for me. And, I really, really wish that this could be more of a thing down the line. So I hope that Netflix and Amazon get together on this. They give us more shows. They give us more movies. Because this thing is right. Like, yes, this movie did not perform, but you have to look at how well the toys are done. Like, Mattel has already made bank on these figures, all right? There are 3 different toy lines, like I said. There's core, which is the 5.5-inch figures, regular proportions. There's origins, which is also 5.5 inches scale, but it's the proportions are like these characters from the 2020 Origins toy lines, or the original He-Man toys from the 80s. Then there's Chronicles, which is 7 inches, so matching these 3 characters right here, matching the Merman and the Beastman. So that's the scale, 7 inches, but they're regular proportions like these ones, like the core ones. So the difference between core and Chronicles is height. The difference between core and Origins is proportions, and the difference between Chronicles and Origins is the proportions and the size. So just keep that in mind, guys. Make sure to go out, be absolutely awesome as He-Man would wish you to be, as all of these characters would wish you to be. Enjoy the movie, talk about it, be annoying as hell about it. I'm telling you guys, word of mouth can do wonders. That's how cult classics are formed, and I'm absolutely 100% sure this movie is going to become a cult classic in 6 months. Not even like 5 years, 10 years from now. It's going to become a cult classic right now, because what I'm seeing on social media, talking to people, looking at how the toys are doing, like at SDC San Diego Comic Con going on right now, this weekend, the last 2 days, today's day 3, they have a huge stall at SDCC. Mattel does. They've unveiled so many new toys, and there's like more to come, and like this thing is not going anywhere. So I'm telling you guys, all of you, explore. There's so many different toy lines to collect, so many different cartoons to watch, the movies. There are 2 movies to watch, guys. So many different toys to collect. Partake, explore, at least try something out. I'm telling you guys, you're gonna love it. Anyways, that's me signing off. Hope you enjoyed this really lengthy review. I haven't done a long video like this in a long time, so I ask my excuses for that. But anyways, have a good time, guys. See you all. Bye.